In this demo, we'll look at a few things such as element selector for jQuery, jQuery ID selector, jQuery attribute selector, jQuery data method, jQuery CSS method, jQuery addClass method, append method, on method, val method, and $this. So first of all, we define our CSS using the document style. So we define a CSS class called btn that has the following properties. Minimum width set to 50 pixels, maximum width set to 100 pixels, height set to 50 pixels, and border set to 2px solid black color. And then we have the btn-primary CSS class that is applied to a element that has the btn class applied. So like in this case here, so if you have an element in which the class is set to btn space btn primary, then the background color for the element will be set to cadet blue. So since we are going to use jQuery, we will have to include the jQuery library. Now in HTML5, we have an attribute known as the data-attribute. So for the data-attribute, you can use you can give it anything, like for example, student name, so data-student name, age, so we have data-age. Now one thing you have to take note of is that all the characters must be small letters, such as student name, so you can see that they are all small letters, age, so they are all small letters. Now the use of a data-attribute is for us to store some data that we can retrieve it from the elements in our JavaScript program. For example, we use a data-student name to store the value, the string mutu, and we use the data-age to store the string 21. Inside this div, we have a button. We apply the CSS btn and the btn primary class to the button, so that the background color for the button will appear as cadet blue. So because it's also applying the class button, the CSS class btn, so it will also have the following styles set to the button itself. Next, we have a paragraph. So for this paragraph, we set the ID to be my button. Then we write our JavaScript block. We use to make sure that the document is ready. Then only this function here will execute. So when the function executes, we will retrieve the string mutu from data-student name. So to retrieve the string mutu from data-student name, we can use the jQuery data method. So we'll select the div element. Since this div element has the ID contents, we can use the jQuery ID selector. So $#contents to select this div element. And then using the data method, pass in student name as the parameter. So that will retrieve the string mutu. So the string mutu is passed to the alert function so that it will be displayed in the alert message box. Next, we use a jQuery selector, jQuery ID selector to once again select the DID element and then use the jQuery data method. So this time we pass in age, so age, so that it will retrieve the value 21. So we will display the value 21 using the alert message box. Next, we will use the jQuery element selector to select the paragraph element. Then we will set the CSS style for this paragraph element. We are going to set the background color for the paragraph element to be yellow. And we will set the paragraph element to have the 1tx solid black color border. Next, in line number 35, we use jQuery attribute selector. So to select the input element that has the type equal to button. So you will select this input element. So the input element that has the type equal to button. And then we want this button to be able to listen to the click event. So we will call the jQuery click method, passing in the event handle to the click method, so that when the user clicks the button, so the click event is triggered, and this event handle will then execute. So here as we can see in line 30, we declare the variable I and initialize it to have the value 0. So in line number 36, what we are doing is we just increment the variable I by 1. So now, after incrementing it by 1, as you can see, the variable I will have the value 1. So every time when the user clicks the button, the variable I will be incremented by 1. And then we define the variable called button, which is a string. So the string is actually the input HTML markup uh, consisting of the input tag. Name is set to btn2, type is equal to button, value equal to button, concatenate with the content from the variable I. So that is the HTML markup. So the string is assigned to the variable button. So actually there's this string concatenate with the content from the variable I and concatenate with another string here. So the whole thing is a string which is a HTML markup. And then we will append the content from the variable button to the paragraph element. So to do that, we use the jQuery ID selector to select the paragraph element, and then calling the append method to append the HTML markup from the variable button to the paragraph element. So what will appear inside the paragraph element is actually a button. And then for the button that we have appended to the paragraph element, we use the jQuery attribute selector to select the input element in which the name attribute is equal to btn2. So we are actually selecting, and then we use the addClass to add the btn plus, and to add the btn primary class to the input button. So every time we click a button will be created and appended to the paragraph element. The line number 41, we use a jQuery IV selector to select the paragraph element, and then calling the on method, so that when the user uh, clicks on the paragraph element, we will handle the click event for the child element that is inside the paragraph. So the child element is an input element with a name equal to btn2. And so when the user clicks the button that is inside the paragraph element, the event handler, which is this function here, will execute. So when the event handler execute, it will display in the alert message box the value retrieved from the button that is inside the paragraph element using the while method. So we use the while method to retrieve the value from the button, which is this button button 1 or button 2, button 3. Yeah, depends on what is the value. So the value that is assigned to the button. Now $sign this refer to the current element that you are interacting with. So the button that you click, the button that is inside the paragraph element that you click on, uh, it is a $sign this. So $sign this will refer to the button that the user clicks, in this paragraph element. Okay. So now let us browse this program in the web browser and see how it works. So you can see the alert message box here. Retrieve the value from the data dash attribute. So Motu and then 21, which we use a alert message box to display them. Then, as you notice, we have a paragraph element, but you can't really see any, the width, the height of the paragraph is nothing because we do not have any content for the paragraph. So you just see basically the border. So now when you click on the button, click me button. So once you click on the click me button, so a button will be appended to the paragraph element. So you can see the value for the button is button 1. So the next time you click on the click me button, you have another button appended to the paragraph element. But this time the value for the button is button 2. So, and now you should also notice that the paragraph element, you can see it has the background color set to yellow. And so the paragraph element has also a 1px black solid border. So you can see every time you click the click me button, you will just append a button into the paragraph element. But the value for the button, you see, it will always increment. So as you can see now, it's button 3, you click again, you have a button 4, you click again, then it will be button 5, and so on. Because this value here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they comes from the variable I. So now if I click on the button inside the paragraph element, for example, I click on this button 3, so $ this will refer to this button. And therefore, it will show to me in the alert message box the value for the button 3, which is button 3. But if I click on button 5, then $ this will refer to this button. So using the while method to retrieve the value from this button, it will be button 5. So the alert message box will be showing to us the value for the button that we click onto it, which is button 5.